Good afternoon, everyone. If I said to you the words Mediterranean Sea, what images spring to mind? Perhaps you thought of the crystal clear waters, sandy beaches, and scorching sun familiar to us through holidays and tourism adverts. This is far from the reality that millions of refugees across the world have lived through. Since 2014, 22,941 refugees have been recorded as dead or missing on their journey across the Mediterranean. I have chosen to speak about artist and activist Weiwei's 2017 installation, The Law of the Journey. It was made 5 years ago and is still very resonant today. This piece is a representation of 300 anonymous, faceless refugees compressed into a 60-metre black rubber boat. In fact, the rubber used by Weiwei is manufactured by the same company who often make boats used by refugees to embark on their perilous journeys. The continuity of the use of black throughout the piece almost makes the figures become part of the boat, perhaps alluding to the concept of ignorance towards these individuals. To onlookers of a crisis which appears distant to them, refugees lose their personal identity and individuality as they all morph into one phenomenon. The composition of the boat combined with the figures is modular, meaning that the figures can be moved around within the boat or removed from it altogether. This allows Weiwei to make the boat more or less crowded and even place some of the figures on the floor around the boat, either in life rings or face down as if in the sea. This evokes feelings of distress to the viewer as a genuine concern is created for these unidentifiable figures. Weiwei implies that on board this dinghy are men, women and children. This is shown through the difference in size between the figures. Smaller bodied people are huddled at the centre of the boat, whilst the adults protect them on the perimeter. This work of art holds huge impact in its scale. At 60 metres long, it shocks the viewer at the sheer size of it. Through its scale, it brings the vastness and overwhelming fact of worldwide refugee issues to our attention. Therefore, it can be seen as a confrontational work of art. The raft can be raised up above the viewer so that the shadow casts over them and they become diminished by its immensity. The Law of the Journey is an installation piece, but what does this mean? This refers to a work of art that can occupy a whole room, gallery space, or be placed in public, that is meant to be explored through moving around it and viewed from different perspectives. Furthermore, an installation piece is likely to take on a slightly different meaning depending on where it's being displayed, while still retaining the same core significance wherever it may travel. Therefore, essential to the meaning of this piece are the locations in which it was showcased. It was first displayed at the Trade Fair Palace in Prague, a part of the National Gallery of the Czech Republic. From the years 1939 to 1941, this vast room was used as an assembly point for Jewish people before their deportation to the concentration camp in Terezin. This allows the work to take on a site-specific meaning and supports the idea of a multi-layered statement on the human condition, where the artist expresses his concern on the continuous, uncontrolled destruction of our own people. By linking the refugee crisis to another heinous crime against humanity, such as the Holocaust, he reinforces the idea of addressing humanitarian crises and not just brushing them under the carpet. In Prague, viewers would enter the hall from the short side, facing the lifeboat, and were confronted by a series of quotes on the floor which led them around the perimeter of it. One quote which struck me was from Letters to Olga, 1988, by Václav Havel, best known for being the last president of Czechoslovakia until the dissolution of the country in 1992 and serving for 10 years as the first president of the Czech Republic. This book was dedicated to his wife and was written before his political career began, when he was still a playwright during his imprisonment for dissident behaviour. The quote reads, "The tragedy of the modern man is not that he knows less and less about the meaning of his own life, but that it bothers him less and less." This quote epitomizes the idea of desensitization. If we think in terms of Havel, he believes it is not our knowledge of crises that has reduced, because in today's modern world of technology, if anything, it has increased through social media and broadcasting. But it is the immunity we develop towards humanity. Many may argue that it is in fact wrong that news channels should broadcast human catastrophes so often and so absent-mindedly, as we become more and more accustomed to seeing reports with graphic footage. However, Weiwei does not agree with removing such issues from the news, but that we should approach them in a different light, with more urgency, and by explaining how the crisis affects more people than just those travelling and those receiving the refugees. Moving on to the Law of the Journey's second location, Australia. Showcased for Sydney's Biennale, it was displayed on Cockatoo Island, where it filled the entirety of the warehouse room in which it was placed. This island was a former shipbuilding site, linking a place of manufacturing to the boats being used today by refugees to embark on their perilous journeys. Moreover, Ai Weiwei has criticised Australia on its attitude towards refugees. He reminds his audiences that for many years, the Australian government has carried out the controversial policy of turning boats back to the seas north of Australia, meaning refugees end up back where they last reached, such as Indonesia. According to Ai Weiwei, this is humans putting up a fence in front of other humans who desperately seek asylum. The title of this piece struck me. It alludes to Walter Benjamin, German essayist and philosopher's reading of Franz Kafka's Law of the Journey as, and I quote, a route of unexpected reversals and distortions that derange casual connections between origins and destinations, wishes and fulfillments, enunciation of messages and their repetition. From this, we can see that Ai Weiwei has clearly thought about his choice of title, as it refers to the opportunities provided by journeys, but also the dangers. Ai Weiwei has personal experience which has aided his empathy towards refugees. As a child, he was sent to a labour camp with his family in the Gobi Desert due to his father's condemnation by the anti-right movement in China. Here, he was subject to hostility and prejudice that tried to silence his father's beliefs. Ai Weiwei said, I know what it feels like to be a refugee and to experience the dehumanization that comes with displacement from home and from country. This shows that Ai Weiwei feels an affinity towards the crisis as if it is his duty and responsibility. This connection has further been shown through a travel to 40 different countries in refugee camps over 23 countries and further through his 2017 film Human Flow. Taking on the role of filmmaker here, he examined the crisis over a year, visiting countries such as Afghanistan, Greece, Germany, and Iraq. Ai Weiwei is an advocate for the human flow phenomenon, which he explains through his metaphor of dealing with floods through either holding up a dam against them or by allowing the water to flow. He explains that by holding the water back, we only allow it to build up and eventually tear the dam down and everything in its path. Therefore, we should allow humans the same freedom that water and nature have, if anything more, as the human desire is stronger than any natural force. On a personal note, my family comes from a small island in the eastern Aegean of Greece called Inousses. This island is on the cusp of the Mediterranean and Turkey, and subsequently the rest of the Middle East. Whilst Inousses only had a shelter set up in 2016, which could house several refugees at a time, due to the small capacity of the island, the crisis became so apparent to me due to the 20,000 refugees which passed through the island over a 12-month period. In addition, just 80 kilometers away from the island of Inousses is Lesbos. In 2016, Ai Weiwei set up his own studio on Lesbos, one of the main points of entry into the EU for hundreds of thousands of refugees. This way, he could be on the front line of the crisis whilst gaining a greater understanding of how Greece approaches it. In fact, he praised the people of Lesbos for being tolerant and helpful, but highlighted the issue that they had limited resources to deal with the crisis. I have swum in seas just last summer where abandoned life jackets and dinghies float or wash up on the shores. However, Ai Weiwei doesn't just want people with a connection to feel emotional or to feel compelled to act. He wants everybody to act. Without understanding of the crisis, his art's meaning significantly diminishes to the modern person, and so, through his art and activism on the topic in a broader sense, he addresses the elephant in the room, ignorance towards the crisis, synonymous with the monumental boat. I hope this work will one day come to the UK and we can all experience it at first hand. When I first delivered this speech in January in the London heats, it was before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and I feel it is important to mention this ongoing humanitarian crisis which is unfolding before our eyes. In this very moment, as we speak, hundreds of thousands of refugees are being displaced for their own safety from their homes and their country. Despite Weiwei's piece taking a focus on refugees travelling by sea, I feel it has resonance with and can represent all refugees who are currently escaping war or persecution. Thank you for listening.